Hey guys, it's Eric from Belgrade Beat, and in this series of videos, I'm going to talk about the Serbian mentality. Now, as a lot of you know, I'm a foreigner who lives here for a long time now. I first came here to live for 3 months in 2008, and since then, it's been the country where I've spent the most time. So basically, I'm going to share lots of insights and expose lots of truths, or maybe uncomfortable truths. Maybe it's just my perspective about the Serbian mentality. And so what does that mean for you? You can sit back and watch, and you might actually want to write back. You can do the comments, you can subscribe, unsubscribe, whatever you want. But the best way is, if you really have something to say, let's get on a Zoom call, we'll record it, put it on the channel, and you can actually put your face on the internet and have your voice heard. Because comments, it's not the best way to express things. Conversations are. So in this video today, I am going to talk about Serbian aggressiveness, aggressive behavior in Serbia. This is a very important topic, I think it is, to actually discuss, because the reputation of Serbia around the world, based on the 90s, and it's really bad that the country today is still judged based on something that happened like 20, 30 years ago. But Serbia has a reputation of being aggressive, especially in the West, for example. And I want to dispel that rumor. And first of all, say that I feel very safe living in this society, even more safe than I ever did in Canada, or about the same level of safe, or safe for different reasons in different situations. So, let me compare it to the West. In the West, specifically countries like Canada, United Kingdom, some places of the US, some, Australia, whatever, the Anglosphere, people are what we call passive aggressive. Now in Serbia, I would call them aggressive, peaceful. Big difference here, because Serbs wear their emotions on their sleeve. They let it out. Whereas in Canada, every time I saw any instance of violence, any instance of, aggression, it kind of looked like somebody was overloaded from oppressing their emotions. Whereas Serbian people will express their aggressiveness constantly in their social life and in the way that they express their feelings. This is a place where people feel like they can express how they feel. Whereas in Canada, where I grew up, that was definitely not the case compared to here. So a friend of mine, a Serbian friend of mine, once said that this is the part of the world where people stop controlling their emotions and let emotions control them. That is partially true, but you are very much on the border of civilized Central Europe and the wild Mediterranean, Middle Eastern stuff, but civilized Central Europe, and both have sort of a contradictory presence in the mentality of people in at least Belgrade. Whereas if you go more north in the country, it's more like Central Europe, and you go more south in the country, it's more like the Balkans, Eastern Mediterranean, Middle East in terms of culture. So what does that do for us? It means that Serbian people, now initially as a foreigner, you come here and people are really nice, and that's a filter because they know you're a foreigner from the way you look, and the language you're speaking is probably English. And they treat you better than they treat each other, and they're less honest with you, and they're trying to put more of a front up. So that's a sort of hospitality construct of Serbian mentality, is that you want to be nice to foreigners, you want to be welcoming to people. But in daily life, especially in Belgrade, I feel that there's a vibe and pulse of the city, which is people going around doing their stuff. And it's a fast-paced environment, similar to, for example, New York City, but also many, many differences, similar to London. And when someone pisses you off in Belgrade, whether you're driving your car, you honk. When they get in your way, you say, you get out of my way. When they do something that you disagree with, you say that, get it out. And I feel that because Serbs are good at initially releasing the tension of any situation based on their feeling, their thought at the moment, and letting that all go, it makes it so that there's not this pent-up passive aggressiveness to the interactions. Whereas in Canada, people are by default like putting on a fake smile and like, hi, how are you doing today? Even though you're pissing them off. And then that pissed off feeling inside of themselves that they're doing the best to hide will build up, build up, build up, and then they just snap. So that doesn't happen here. First, Serbian, when you piss them off, they'll show it on their face. They'll say it in their words, tone of voice, all that stuff, body language, all that stuff. And what that means is once they've let that out and you give your response, to that, what they let out, then basically what happens next? Well, what happens is next is basically you guys negotiate. You sort of listen to each other and let it out, rather than pretending that you're not pissed off and not speaking your mind and not letting your heart out and not letting your feelings out. Here, there's very much a process of negotiation. So what I find is when Serbian, that it's a lot less likely that you're going to have escalating conflicts based on passive aggressiveness here, because you'll just let it out and then you'll both say your thing. And since that tension is released, you can either work it out or just go away from each other. And that's what tends to happen. Now, how does this translate in situations? I find that there's not very much random violence here. And whenever there is a dispute that could lead to violence, it de-escalates rather than escalates randomly or boils over or anything like that. So it's just, and when Serbian people are considering being violent to each other, they always give a warning bell. They always give a warning whistle. And the people who don't hear that are the ones who get beaten up. Because a Serbian person will always have this, like, I'm feeling aggressive, letting it out, demonstrating it to you, and you can heed the warning and get out of the situation. Whereas every time in for example, London, New York, Toronto, places like that, it's a very different vibe, where I feel that people are just so pent up from repressing all of their emotions, and then one thing will piss them off, they'll snap, and then it will immediately be a violent situation where there's no chance to de-escalate it. Here, for example, if you ignore that, you can get beaten, and Serbs can be aggressive towards you. And basically, yeah, that's not good, but it hasn't happened to me because I'm good at negotiating with people who actually can say what they mean and express how they feel and all that stuff. Whereas, it's easier than people who refuse to express how they feel or say what they mean, who will be pissed off. And you can see that they're pissed off, but they won't actually tell you why, how they feel, and work through a process of working out with you. So here's one example of when somebody did not take the warning sign. About 10 years ago, or maybe it was 11 years, something like that, I was hanging around Belgrade, with another foreigner from England. And he was, trying to meet girls and stuff. He met a girl, got her number. He called that number, and her boyfriend picked up. So this girl gave this guy her number. I don't know what she was thinking. I didn't meet the girl. And he obviously was interested in something with her, and basically the boyfriend picked up and said, "This is my girlfriend's phone, I don't want you calling her." And the British guy thought he would be a cheeky bastard and say, "Why don't you meet me in the main square at 9 o'clock?" So then at about 8:30, I met him actually in another place, and I didn't know this at that time. He refused to meet in the main square by the horse, and I met him down the street, and he said, "I can't go there. This is what happened." I'm like, "You're a fucking idiot. You are an idiot, man. And if they find you and start beating you, I'm not going to help, because you just did something very stupid, because the guy gave you the warning. You did not back down. He was very clear about it. It wasn't pent up. He was very clear about the boundary. And you said you thought it would be funny to invite him to the main square and not go there, so that he'd be running around looking for you ready. Well, guess what? What if he finds you?" Sure. And he was like, yeah. So yeah, that is a little dumb. He's being British, being funny, thinks that everything in life is a joke, as British people tend to, in a certain way sometimes. And well, what happened next? We're walking down Knez Mihailova. A few minutes later, two guys in Doc Marten boots come and start beating the shit out of them. Now, locals did intervene. What they saw as a foreigner getting beaten up by Serbian guys. They didn't want that on their country. They wanted to preserve the honor of their country and all of that stuff. But what I saw was a British idiot who did not understand the culture of Serbia, did not respect the culture, and did not respect a person who said, please don't hit on my girlfriend. Please don't call her. I don't want you to do that. And he actually decided to mock him by saying, meet me in the main square, and then not going. I mean, even if he had met him in the main square, there probably would have been another chance to de-escalate the situation. But yeah, guess what happened? You know, he got beaten up. He had, I think, like a tooth cracked or something. I don't know. It wasn't fun to watch it, but you know, I won't go as far as saying he deserved it, but I'm going to go as far as saying that I was not on his side for this. There's other stories like that. Basically, Serbian people are people of honor. They're people of pride. And if you offend that, then they will come and they will be aggressive towards you. You have to understand that this is a collectivist society, basically. This is a society that takes pride in their national collective identity. Whereas in the West, in Canada, US, England, it's mostly about individual identity. And it's a completely different way of looking at life. I follow this model of spiral dynamics. Serbia is blue on that model. The West is orange. They don't see eye to eye on a lot of things. And you have to understand that if you offend people's pride, they will let you know. And if you continue to do it, if you don't listen to them and understand the sorts of warning signs, if you keep in your individualist, I'm behind a wall, this is me, that's you. No, they want to include you in their emotion. They want to include you in the social order here. When you're traveling in this country, you have to accept that you're in a country which has a national identity and it has a national pride and it has a way that people deal with things. And if you do not respect that, and you ignore the warning signs, yeah, then people might be aggressive and it can be, you know, bad in the end. But if you are able to navigate that, try to understand the culture and listen to people and check it. Because the thing about collectivistic societies rather than individualistic societies is collectivistic societies people are more used to checking in with each other emotionally and in terms of ideas and in situations. They're more used to having dialogue about every issue, whereas individualistic societies, like, this is me, these are the rules, this is how it works, this is me, my ego, and you're offending that. But in a collectivistic society, you can offend the whole notion of a nation and the culture by saying a certain thing. It's the same with China, Turkey, and a lot of different countries around the world that haven't adopted this Western individualist sort of capitalist mentality about life. So keep that in mind. If you keep this stuff in mind, and you keep in mind that just because Serbian people are aggressive first, and they're rude at first, or whatever you perceive it to be, unkind, or whatever it is, and then they warm up afterwards, and it's backwards from what you're used to, doesn't mean that they're bad people or mean people or anything like that. It just means that they've got a different orientation towards emotions, feelings, and thoughts, a different idea of what is politeness, what is customer service, and all of that stuff. And they don't mean any bad with it. And there's a different way that you need to relate with them and understand that they'll let out their feelings first in any situation. And then the mind will kick in and they'll start working through the feelings with the assistance of the mind. Whereas like the Western individualist sort of thing is like you obey your mind and the rules and the way that you're supposed to talk to people, the way that you're supposed to put on the fake smile, and then the emotions will bubble up and your mind will be forced to reconcile with them. It's backwards here. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. We did reach 10,000 subscribers yesterday, and thanks a lot for everyone who got us this far. And I hope to make more videos about Serbian mentality in the near future. Thanks a lot, guys. This was good for me. I hope it was good for you. And write in the comments down below. If you would like to get on a conversation about Serbian mentality with me on a Zoom call, you can write me at eric@eric.rs, ERIK@ERIK.rs. And give me a compelling reason on why you would be interesting to talk to about these subjects. And I hope this helped, guys. Take care. Catch you later.